Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread.
So this is the Passover right here. After Christ told the disciples, go out and get everything that we need. Tell the guy we gonna have it at his house. Right? So that was on like the 10th day, because they getting everything prepared. Now they having it right here. Because the Passover is the feast of unleavened bread, right? When the Passover, when the sun go down, that's the beginning of the feast of unleavened bread. So go ahead.
Of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, the master saith, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
Right, now jump to 19.
And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover.
So that was still like the 10th day. Go to 21.
Verse 21. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me.
So this is the Passover right here. It's the 14th day. So you got to remember the first day. I wish we had a little calendar. I mean, a little chalkboard in here. Just imagine like this. If you look at a calendar, so the Passover will actually be like the second week. It'll be like the second week. If you count 14, then it'll be like the 14th to the 15th day, right? Pull up a lunar Sabbath calendar and see if you can put it up here on this board real quick.
Is it do we have the HDMI plug over there? All right.
I'm gonna show it to you real quick. Yeah, that's it. Cause first day of the month.
Hold on, let me make it bigger.
No, leave it right there. Leave this. Cause I'm gonna show them with this one first. Go back to the other calendar first. Go to that one or this one. It don't matter. Go to that one and blow it up. All right, let me slide. This is the lunar calendar. So the first day will be the new moon. It will be a Saturday to them. Then after the first day, that's when you start counting your days. After the new moon come in, the next day is day one. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8. So this will be the Sabbath day, the lunar Sabbath, day 8. So it got to be continued 7 days after that. So the next one will be the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. So we see, if you do the Passover, that means Christ, he died right here on the 15th. Let's see, did they keep the Sabbath right here? We're going to find out. Because it got to be 7 more days. Right, now go to the American calendar. This is the American calendar. As you see, it's always going, at any month, you can look at it yourself. These always going to line up. At 8,
Wait, that's not
15.
that's not the American calendar.
We'll get the American calendar.
Let me see if I just pull
You
up
can look at
ours.
any American calendar, any calendar. You can pull up your calendar on your phone. These days gonna line up every time. It can be in the middle of the month, the beginning of the month. It can be anywhere in that month because they using the moon. They're not looking at the calendar. But according to the calendars, pull this one up. If you look at January, look at the month right here, 8, 15, 20, and it's on a Wednesday, 22nd, 29th. Then right here, the next month, February, it's on a Friday, lined up. The next month is on a Saturday, lined up. April, the next month, it don't matter. Them dates gonna still line up. The 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. But they're not going by the calendar. But these days always gotta line up all the time. Because remember, we going by the moon. Christ said, we read in Exodus, said the first day of the month. Then after that, the 10th day, go get your lamb. Then on the 14th, 15th day, is the Passover. So Christ, we see that Christ was following the law. Okay, now let's keep reading. Let's go to verse 45. Like I said, we ain't gonna read everything because we know everything happened that night. We just went over it. Everything Christ did, everything they did. We just gonna get straight to the point. All right, go ahead.
Verse 45.
Scripture, showing us 3 days, 3 nights in the world. All right, 45. Go ahead.
Then cometh he to his disciples and said unto them, sleep now and take your rest.
27. Okay. Start at
27 and 40.
Start at 43.
Okay. So like,
we're going over to the next chapter, 27, and we're gonna go all the way down to 43.
Matthew chapter 27 and verse 42. He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross.
So he on the cross at this time, right? They did everything, beat him, put the nails, and they did everything. Now they tease him. Come down from that cross. Go ahead.
And he will believe him.
Right, who gonna believe him? Because he can't get himself off the cross. Go ahead.
He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth.
Right.
Now from the 6th hour there was darkness.
So this is the 6th hour, right? Anybody, you know what time the 6th hour? That's 12 noon.
That's noon, yeah.
When you look at it, it's 12 noon in the afternoon. It's still a Passover. It's in the afternoon time, right? Go ahead.
Was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour.
Right, because it got dark. A lot of people try to say it was a lunar eclipse or whatever. It wasn't that. Right. And people just make up all kinds of stuff. Lie on the Bible all day long just to fit their agenda. You know? Right?
So that 9th hour
is 12 noon.
Now, the 6th hour is 12 noon. The 9th hour is 3.
Yeah. Where we at?
We're
the
right.
6th hour is 12 noon. Go ahead.
45. The 9th hour, 46.
Read 45 again.
Okay. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour.
To the 9th hour to 3 p.m. 3 in the afternoon. Go ahead.
And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying,
This Christ crying, what are they gonna say?
Eli, 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 Sabbath.
Go ahead.
Sabbath.
That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Keep going.
Some of them that stood there, where they heard that, saying, this man called for Elias. And straightway one of them reigned.
Now jump to verse 50.
Verse 50.
It's still 3 p.m. Go ahead.
Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yield up the ghost.
He did what?
Yield up the ghost.
Christ died. He died on the Passover. 3 p.m. right on the 15th day. Right. Now read that scripture I told you. Because it's the prophecy right here.
All right. So this is in the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 40. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly.
So it says 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly. Go ahead.
So shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth.
Right, because we know that's what the Christian church said. He was in 3 days. But they don't say the 3 nights. They just go from Friday, Good Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What about the nights? When you add the nights on it to make the term a little bit longer, right? So that's the prophecy. He got to be in the ground 3 days a night because people got to understand how the Hebrew calendar works. The Hebrew calendar worked the way it worked. Pull the calendar back up. Any calendar. All right, the Hebrew calendar, the 14th, you should just left it right there. Just say like the 14th day of that month, going into the 14th is ending. Because in the evening, this day is almost over and it's consenting into this day. This day right here is consenting into this day. So if you say 3 days and 3 nights, you got to go 1, 2, 3. Right?
No. Basically, like from this is 1,
That's what I
then
did.
from here to here is a 2, then from here to here. You got
What I
like
just did.
5 right
No,
here.
it's right here. Right here. From here to here. Look, 14th is the 15th.
Oh yeah.
15th is the 16th. The 17th is the 18th. So it'd be like right here. But don't go by this calendar. Because you'll get tripped up on the days. Because like you said, don't nobody know what time we in. We don't know. So pull up that calendar, the one that got changed, the Gregorian calendar to the lunar calendar, whatever they did. But they never did change
the Julian calendar?
Yeah. I'm gonna show you they never did change the day. They just changed the dates, but it still was always a consistent days going. It was always going. It never was broken throughout all the history.
I never looked up a Julian calendar before.
Now look I think it was from like in October, but they went from the 15th or to something to the, you know what I'm saying? They just took a week out of the calendar.
I got you. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
So we can't really get tripped up on these calendars in America because, like they saying, we do go by the moon, but we do it for signs for the feast days. Because when you read Sirach 43, it say the feast days is a sign for what? It's a light. What feast day is a light? The Passover. Because when you start at a dark moon, and on the 15th day of that month, it's gonna be a full moon outside.
It was in 1582.
Yeah, because even the scriptures say how Christ died, the same way he's gonna return, the way the moon was. So if you look at this, when they changed the Julian calendar from the Gregorian calendar, they try to say they keep switching the calendars. You see right here, this is in October. They changed this, cut some days out, but did they cut any weeks out? They still was going on a 7-day cycle, so you can't get tripped up on these calendars. Because that's what a lot of people do. They try to say, you don't know because the calendar been switched around. We don't know what. We got to use the moon. But these days right here, it's steadily, the 7-day cycle is still consistent no matter what. Even though these days got heathen custom names like Saturn Day, don't get twisted up by that. Because that's what the heathen were doing. They made these names right here. These are heathen names. But in the Bible, you ain't gonna see these names. You're gonna see day 1, day 2, day 3, day 3, day 6, all the way to day 7.
One thing that I just thought about, they try to change it for us, but nature still follows it.
Right.
Like the tides follow the moon phase.
That's
the
why
plants follow the moon phase.
Right.
The animals when they fall in heat,
right.
They follow.
That's why. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 16 and 1. Deuteronomy 16 and 1. Because the Most High, he give us a clue all the time when to start your month. So we can't get twisted on looking at the calendar. But the Most High, he finna tell us when the month's gonna start. Go ahead, watch this.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse 1. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover.
Say, observe the what?
Observe the month of Abib.
See if you can pull that up on a blue deck. So Christ is telling us to observe the month of Abib. That's going to be your first month right there. The month of Abib. The month of Abib is the era of corn, right? We're going to look up the words real quick. Go ahead and read it again, bro.
Observe the month of Abib.
See if you can look up Abib. Let's see what that word means.
The month of Abib is Hebrews 8:24. Abib. And it means fresh, young barley ears, barley.
You hear what that means? Fresh, young barley ears. That means it got to be fresh, growing. That means the corn and the trees, everything got to be blossoming. It's around that time. And read the second definition.
Month of ear forming.
The what?
Month of ear
What is
forming.
the ear forming? That's corn. That's all right. Go ahead.
Of greening of crop. Of growing green Abib. Month of Exodus and Passover.
When was it?
And in parentheses, March or April.
Because you don't know where that new moon gonna fall. That new moon can fall the end of March or around the beginning of April. And then you start counting 15 days after that, after you see that moon, because like we in the 7th month now. How do we know? Then we go to the 8th month, the ninth month, then we start over again. And then if we don't go by the calendar, because if we keep going, the next Passover can wind up in March or in April, because we just keep the cycle going, right? So let's go back to where Christ was at. So we already had established Christ kept the Passover. Christ died on the Passover. So the prophecy is that he had to be 3 days and 3 nights in the earth. So we got the 8th, the 15th is when Christ died, on the 15th, right? Let's see, 7 days later, was it another Sabbath? So let's go down to, I might have to use another one. Go to that Matthew 27, and because I might have to use another. No, I'm gonna have to use Luke or Mark. I'm gonna try to get as close to the point as I can. Just let me see where I want to start at. Because I might have to use Luke. Go to 27 and go to 50. And then let me see the indentations on the top of that chapter, that verse.
Here.
All right, but I don't need all of that Hebrew stuff. Just highlight that verse, and then it's gonna have some other verses on the top. Hold on, go down a little bit. Go up.
You're talking about
Yeah,
right there.
right there. Go to Luke
23.
Yeah. Read that in Luke real quick. Just click on it, it'll pop up. Yeah, you could have just clicked on it.
Oh, I thought we was gonna keep that.
All right, what that Luke 23 and 44 or something?
Yep.
Let me see if this is what I'm looking for real quick.
You want to read it?
Yeah, just start reading.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 44. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost.
Go to verse 49.
Verse 49, and all his acquaintance and the woman that followed him from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things.
So we go this. Y'all want to pay attention to the women, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. Let's see what they was doing. Go ahead.
And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deed of them. He was of Arimathea.
So this is Joseph of Arimathea. Go ahead.
A city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus.
So reason why he begged the body of Christ, because in the law, you got to get the body off the cross by a certain time before the sun go down. Because if you don't, the body is like a curse. The body is a curse. I think it's in Deuteronomy that say at a certain time they got to be in the tomb. But this guy was a rich man. He gave Christ his tomb. So he went there. I got to hurry up and beg him. Let me get that body down. We got to get it down. We got to travel so far to get to my tomb and get it in there before the sun go down. So remember these women. Let's see what they were doing. Keep reading.
And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid.
Now, this is the key point. Go ahead.
And that day was the preparation.
The day was what?
The preparation.
That day was what?
The preparation.
What's the preparation? The preparation of the what?
Preparation of the Sabbath.
So they preparing for the Sabbath, right? So if you look at that calendar, I want you to give me 7 days if they prep. Let's see when they was preparing for it. Go on that preparate. Click on it like you did last time to see what's no. Click on the whole verse because I think It might be them scriptures come up like Mark and go to John. Go to John 19. Because I think John gonna tell you what these women was doing. They're gonna give more detail.
All right, this is the book of John, chapter 19, verse 38.
Mm-hmm.
And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him leave.
Jump to verse 42.
Verse 42. There laid they Jesus, therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day.
All right, now go back up because I want to see if it's in Matthew.
Matthew 27.
Yeah, go to Matthew 27. We're gonna come back to John. Because I'm trying to get the one with the most detail.
All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 27 and verse 57.
Don't start at 57. Go down a little bit because I want to see what these women was doing.
Verse 61.
Right, 61.
And there was Mary Magdalene.
That's it. Let's see what these women was doing. Go ahead.
And the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day.
So this the next day. Right? Go ahead.
That followed the day of the preparation.
So this is the day after the preparation. What's the day after you? Yeah, it's the Sabbath, right? Go ahead.
The chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive,
what did he say?
After 3 days, I will rise again.
After 3 days, he's going to rise again. All right, go ahead.
Command, therefore, that the sepulchre be made sure unto the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away.
So the disciples, they would had guard. They got all kind of security up in there, soldiers everywhere. They waiting because they thinking the disciples gonna try to take the body. Because they gonna say they gonna fake this prophecy. This dude gonna rise in 3 days. Let's get all these soldiers, line them up. He ain't going nowhere. They trying to fulfill. He ain't no magician. He ain't the son of the Father. Right? Go ahead.
And steal him away and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead.
So that's what they want. They don't want this to happen. Go ahead.
So the last error shall be worse than the first.
Right. Then everybody really gonna start believing. Go ahead.
Pilate said unto them, ye have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as you can.
Make it as sure as you can. Make sure y'all be watching. Don't screw this up. Go ahead.
So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone.
They sealed the stone tight. Go ahead.
And setting a watch.
Now go to chapter 28. Because these women that day, they made spices and oil that day. The preparation of the Sabbath. They was prepping it up. Because if you know the whole thing of the burial, how they used to do the Israelite, they used to wrap it up, put it in linen, but they had to put these little spices and stuff on it, this oil, because they didn't want the stink of the body. So that's what they were doing. So they was preparing, and then the Sabbath day had came. But they know, like on the Sabbath, you can't be really doing too much. So 28, let's go. Then go to John 20 and 1 after they read that verse.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath.
So it was the end of the Sabbath. It's the end of the Sabbath. Right? It was ending. Go ahead.
As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week.
So it was going to be the next day. Go ahead. Because I told y'all how these days go. So when the sun is going down, right, on the Sabbath, and then the sun the next day is in the morning, and then it's still that day, and then to the next day it's dark again. Right? Go ahead.
Came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre.
Right. So a lot of brothers get tripped up on this scripture and say it's morning to morning. It's Sabbath because it was morning when they got there. It was another day. It was early that morning. But let's go to John and see what he say. John 20 and 1.
This is the book of John, chapter 20 and verse 1. The first day of the week cometh, Mary Magdalene early.
What?
Early.
Because when you come early, it's still the next day. You know how you out there in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning? It's still the next day, but it's still dark outside. So when they got there, it was still dark outside. Brothers try to trip it up and say, see that? It was the sun up and it's morning to morning now. No. You got to know the Hebrew calendar. And I'll show y'all after we leave here the Hebrew calendar, how the days click over. How the days sink into the next day. It can be the 15th and still it going into the 16th, and that's still the same day. All right. So go ahead, finish that off.
The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter.
So she ran out because they went in and he was already gone. So I don't even know what these Christians talking about. Oh, he rose on Saturday. He was gone. On the Sabbath, he was gone. He the Lord of the Sabbath, man. He not the Lord of no Sunday. Because when they went there, remember, they had to travel on the Sabbath. And when they got there, it was beginning to be the next day, but it wasn't. But when they went in there, he was already gone. Right? Go ahead.
And to the other disciple, whom Jesus loved, and saith unto them,
what these women say to Peter? Go ahead.
They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre.
They was like, he gone. Where he at? But somehow they say, oh, like they seen him rise on Sunday morning. Come on, man. He was gone. Go ahead.
And we know not where they have laid him. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the sepulchre.
So they wanted to check too to see what these women thought. What y'all mean he gone? Verify, right. Yeah, let me verify. Peter like, what? He gone. We didn't get that part of the prophecy. Right? Go ahead.
So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter, and came first to the sepulchre.
Right.
And he, stooping down and looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet went he not in.
He was gone. He was gone. He was gone. So pull that calendar back up. That lunar calendar again. Let's do it again. This is the new moon. First day, second day. Somebody give me 2 Samuel chapter 20. He go to 8, 15. So Christ died here. So Mary Magdalene, now, according to the scriptures, when Christ died, it was after the Sabbath. So he rose in these realm of days here. I'm not going to put a finger on which one it is, but 3 days and 3 nights, even if you just go 1, 2, 3, you still short 1, 2, 3, 4 days for it to be another Sabbath, if it's the lunar, going by the lunar Sabbath. But if it ain't going by the lunar Sabbath, even if you go 1, 2, 3, you still short 3 days. What happened to these other days? They didn't already kept the Sabbath. What happened right here? It didn't say 7 more days after he died, he was going to roll. It said 3 days and 3 nights. And we see clearly John, Luke, Matthew, Mark, we got all these witnesses that said 3 days and 3 nights, he was gone. And it was the Sabbath day, he rose. So where is they getting this from the lunar Sabbath? So we got to be careful, because what sound good ain't always good. Because they can go to scriptures and make it sound good, just like I did at the beginning. I went to Sirach, the feast day. You got to count the feast day. Then I went to Leviticus and showed y'all, hey, the Bible says this feast day is a Sabbath. So that means we got to use the moon to count the Sabbath. It sounds good. But when you look at what Christ give a lot of detail in his death. He tell you about the new moon in his death, what it was, whether the full moon or whether the dark moon. He tell you whether morning to morning, or he tell you whether the lunar Sabbath. If you just go through the precepts with Christ's death, it'll just tell you right there. Give me that in Samuel where it say about the new moon, when David kept the new moon. I think it's 20. Because I'm going to show you too. And they take these scriptures and they twist them up real good. But you got to, it's good to read the whole chapters, I'm telling you. But I just ran through it like another brother do. They'll just run through it. But when you go back and start reading whole chapters, you be like, hold on, there's a lot of details missing out of this thing now. You know? Go to Samuel, the 2 Samuel 20.
It's 1 Samuel 20.
Yeah, read that real quick. Because this is Samuel on the new moon. Because they'll take this and totally tear it into pieces too. They'll try to add as many days as they can to try to fit that narrative too. Go ahead.
I'm going to start at verse 5. This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 20, and verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon.
So this is tomorrow going to be the new moon. This David, go ahead.
And I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the fields until the third day.
So he said, I'm going to be in this field for 3 days. 3 days, because I'm not coming to the new moon. Go ahead.
At even.
At evening. We show you right there that the day starting the evening right there. That's just plain and simple. When you get morning to morning after that, he said, I'm going to be in there and I'm starting, my day is going to be starting in the evening time. Go ahead.
If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem, his city.
Right. So he may tell him, Jonathan to make an excuse for him. Tell him I had to go do this, man. Because I'm supposed to be there. Go ahead.
For there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family.
Right. So he said he had to be in there 3 days. And he going, let's keep reading. Because I want to get to a point where he going to name these 3 days. Go to 18.
Verse 18. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty.
Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark.
So he going to shoot these arrows to give him one. The first day, boom. The next day, boom. The next day, boom. That's going to be your 3 days in the field, right? Go ahead.
And behold, I will send a lad, saying, go, find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them, then come thou, for there is peace to thee.
Right. So David said, I'm going to send one of my soldiers up here. And if these 3 arrows good, that means I come back to town. I can come back. The coast is clear. Right. Jump to verse 24.
Verse 24. So David hid himself in the field. And when the new moon was come.
When the what?
When the new moon was come.
The new moon came. Go.
The king sat him down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times.
It's going to trip y'all up. Go ahead.
Even upon a seat by the wall.
So this is the new moon day. Remember the first day? It's a Sabbath. Go ahead.
And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day.
He didn't come. And Saul didn't even speak a word about David. He didn't say where he was at, where he missing, why his seat ain't here. Saul trying to kill him. Right? Go ahead.
For he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean.
He thought David wasn't clean. That's why he didn't show up. Because they got laws that at certain events you can't show up unclean. Just like the Sabbath. You can't be having sex on the Sabbath and then be around dapping brothers. You unclean, man.
That's right.
You can't come to the Sabbath unclean. When brothers say you can have sex on the Sabbath, they going off, bro. They going off. There's plenty of precepts that show when you have sex, you are unclean. You can't come in the camp around your brothers, dapping them up, shalom, and you unclean. Now, I'm unclean, he unclean. I go to a funeral, I'm touching the body. I can't be around the brothers dapping them up for so many days. You got to get back clean before you start dapping your brothers up. If you're going to have sex on the Sabbath, don't come to camp. If brothers say you can have sex on the Sabbath, I ain't going to say, hey, that's a sin, but don't come to camp. So if you come to camp, you plan on coming to camp, hey, wait till after the Sabbath, bro. Right? Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the morrow.
So this is the next day. The next day. Let's see what the Bible say. The next day, this is it right here. Go ahead.
Which was the second day of the month.
What?
The second day of the month.
What?
The second
What
day
they
of
say?
the month.
What they keep? After the new moon, it's the second day. They say this is the first day. They say this is the first day. According to the Bible, this is the second day of the month. So this day right here, you can't separate this day from the calendar. They get this a whole, you see how I go? This is a separate day. Then you start counting day 1, day 2. The Bible said this was day 2. Read it again. If I'm going crazy.
And it came to pass on the morrow,
Tomorrow after the new moon, what was it?
which was the 2nd day of the month,
That ought to just, we could just close the book right there. But they're going off already. It's the first day according to them. Go ahead.
that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet?
Stop right there. Now I want to find out. We're just going to kind of go through it real quick. Go to verse 35.
Verse 35. And it came to pass in the morning
So it's the same day. Go ahead.
that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. And he said unto his lad, Run, find out now the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him.
Right, so another arrow shot beyond him. So what day that's telling you? All right, keep going.
And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the lad and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? And Jonathan cried after the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything, only Jonathan and David knew the matter.
Right, they only knew what was going on. The guy he sent didn't know what them 3 arrows meant. Right? Go to verse, where we at?
Just finished 39.
Finish that and then flip over to the next chapter, 21.
And Jonathan gave his artillery unto his lad and said unto him, Go, carry them to the city. You said go to the next one?
Yeah, 21 and 1.
This is chapter 21, verse 1. Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David.
Hey, go to Matthew chapter 12. Go ahead.
And said unto him, Why art thou alone?
So this is David. He said, why you ain't alone? Because he had his meeting with him, right? Go ahead.
And no man with thee. And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me.
So David really saying, hey, I'm out here doing the king business. But he wasn't. He was out there hiding from the king. Go ahead.
And hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand?
So he asking the priest, hey, what you got in there, man? He hungry, man. You out there, man, you starving. He like, man, what you got there, brother? Hey, what's that? Hey, go ahead.
Give me 5 loaves of bread.
He like, give me 5 loaves of them bread, bro, because I'm kind of hungry, bro. Right? Go ahead.
Or what there is present.
Give me what's present. Go ahead.
And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread.
There's no who?
There is no common
Ain't
bread.
no regular bread. This ain't no regular bread, David. Right? Go ahead.
Under mine hand.
This ain't no regular bread. Right? Go ahead.
But there is hallowed bread.
This is show bread. The show bread. Right? Go ahead.
If the young men have kept themselves at least from women.
They got to keep themselves from women how long?
And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days.
How long?
3 days.
How long he was in the field?
3 days.
Can't eat the show bread and you unclean. Give me that in Leviticus, the show bread. Now you read Matthew chapter 12 and start with I think it's verse 2 or 3 where David will Christ when they was start at verse 1. Start at verse 1.
Matthew chapter 12 and verse 1. At that time Jesus went on the Sabbath day.
So this is Sabbath day.
To the corn.
This Jesus getting some corn. Right? Go ahead.
And his disciples were in hungry.
So they was hungry too, like David. Go ahead.
And began to pluck the ears of the corn.
So they was in the field getting the corn, plucking the corn. Go ahead.
To eat.
They wanted to eat.
But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, our disciples do that which is not lawful.
So they saying, what y'all doing ain't lawful. But it is lawful when you read in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, I forgot what chapter, say you can pluck the ears of the corn and eat it on the Sabbath day.
To do upon the Sabbath day.
Right, because the Pharisees, they over righteous. These dudes over righteous. They got fringes this long, beards like this. They trying to keep the law and they adding more to the law. But go ahead and read that what Christ is talking about.
Verse 3. But he said unto him,
Mhm.
have you not read what David did
So this is what we read. What David did. What did David do? Go ahead.
when he was in hunger,
On the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
and they that were with him?
Because you got to remember the new moon. They had the new moon. Then 3 days later, David on the Sabbath. But what these guys do, they try to add days on. He was in the field for 3 days. Then he came out. It was 3 more days. But if you read the whole chapter, it tell you day 1 he did this, day 2 he did this, day 3 he did this, and then he came out the field. Just read the whole chapter. They skip over. They say he was in there. They already messed up right here because they say this was the 2nd day of the week. Then they say he was in there for 3 days. That's kind of 1, 2, 3. Then he came out 3 more days. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. You're still short, bro. If we give you your 3 days in, 3 days out, you're still short, brother. You're still short. Because Christ confirmed that when David did it, it was a Sabbath day. Read that part again, verse 3.
You want to go up, verse 2.
Yeah, read verse 2.
But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath.
It's unlawful for what they doing, picking corn, but it was lawful. Christ is he know the law like this, bro. They can't tell him nothing about the law. He the only man that never sinned. Right? Go ahead.
But he said unto him, have you not read what David did?
Christ was a master because he was always testing them. Did you read what David did? You trying to check me? That's how we got to do, especially when we out here with these Christians. When they trying to tell us something, we confound them. Hey, did you read this though? And they be looking like, ooh, they be looking retarded because we confound them. Christ was in here. He was confounding the Pharisees all day long, man. So we see David ate that showbread and it was on the Sabbath day. Let's get the law on the showbread. When is showbread got to be made?
All right, this is in the book of Leviticus, chapter 24 and verse 5.
Right.
And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in 1 cake, and thou shalt set them in 2 rows.
So this is the priest making the showbread. Let's see what day he making the showbread. Let's see if he making it on Tuesday night. Go ahead.
6 on a row upon the pure table before the Lord, and thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row.
Right, because I'm telling you, bro, they was all about smell. Everything about ancient times, they got to have smell. The Most High, he liked to smell certain things. That's why when you see brothers burning frankincense, because the Most High, he loved that smell. He loves certain smells. That's why his favorite plant is the lily, because it got a certain distinct smell. Right? Even in the showbread, they use frankincense. Right? Go ahead.
That it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Every Sabbath.
Every when?
Every Sabbath.
When the showbread got to be made?
Every Sabbath.
So when David seen them guys out in the field, he was on the Sabbath day. Christ verified, the law verified. Finish that off.
Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before the Lord continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant.
Right, because even David would tell you that after the new moon, 3 days, it was a Sabbath day. So when you get, even if you get this day and the 3 days, they short. Even if they add 3 days, he was in the field, 3 days, he came out, they still short 1 more day. So don't get twisted up on what they saying. It sound good, but it ain't good.